Okay, this is going to be a series of videos, so the one you're watching is only one of a series, and I do encourage you to watch the rest of them. Also, I encourage you to watch the full-length webumentary titled Global Warming, Myth or Reality, A Skeptic's View. It goes through the entire science behind global warming, but with this series, we're going to pick and choose some interesting pieces, and we're going to ask the viewer, does global warming pass the stink test? We're going to take a look at the science, and I want you to ask yourself, does that even make sense? Most importantly, ask yourself, if a big oil company produced a report like that, wouldn't the environmentalists be going ape nuts? Because what we're going to do is we're going to take a hard look at the science, and then once again, just ask yourself, does this pass the stink test?
Okay, in this one, we're going to take a look and see, do the numbers even add up? From what we found out recently, cows passing gas produce 18 to 20% of global warming gases out there. When we take a look at the major greenhouse gas, water vapor, you find out that water vapor is up to 40,000 parts per million, with a variability of around 10,000. So you can see that's a huge concentration relative to carbon dioxide, which is only 370. Now remember that the difference that they're talking about is 270 to 370. That's 370 parts per million. So you're talking about 100 parts per million variation of a greenhouse gas with a global warming potential of 1. That's incredibly insignificant, because if you take a look at water vapor, which if you take a look at its global warming potential, it's calculated out to be over 200. So as you can see, water vapor itself is 100 times or more prevalent than CO2, plus it's 200 times more potent. So when you take the things into the put everything into context, you see that there just simply isn't enough carbon dioxide out there, and the variation they're talking about is so minimal that there's really no way for it to cause the extreme temperature changes that they're blaming on. You got to find some other more significant variable that causes it. And that's why we're going to take a look at Mother Nature. If you take a look at Mother Nature, she produces a heck of a lot of greenhouse gases, and she controls the sun. Okay, now let's take a look at Mother Nature. Mother Nature produces a huge amount of pollution. In fact, I read a quote once where one single volcano produces more pollution than man has in the entire industrial era. Now, what exactly does that mean? Well, let's take a look at the scope of what a volcano does. Mount St. Helens released the equivalent of an atomic bomb each second for 9 hours. It threw enough rock and crud into the air and displaced enough rock and crud to fill a football field 600 miles high. Okay, it filled a valley with 3 billion cubic yards of rock, ash, snow, and ice. Okay, and one volcano severely damaged about 230 square miles. All right. Now put that in context of a utility plant. You fit it on a couple of acres. I'm willing to bet you could take every single SUV and power plant ever built, and you could stack them into a crater of a volcano, and it would be nowhere near as high as a football field 306 or 600 miles high. The other thing is, if you take a look at what's going on with our national forests, you've had these environmentalists saying we can't thin them out, we can't do any logging. Well, what that's done is that's resulted in the fact that our forests are 7 to 11 times more dense. In fact, I watched someone from the forest department demonstrate what's going on with our fires, and what he did was he had a board with a bunch of matches stuck in it, kind of like a little Chinese checker game. And he showed what a healthy forest was, and he had the matches spread out, about every 3 or 4 pegs. So when he lit one match, it didn't spread to the other. Then he goes, well, this is what the new forests are like, and he put a peg in a match in every single peg hole, and when he lit it, the flame spread all the way across the board. And so what the environmentalists have done by trying to protect the forests have actually jeopardized them, because now when we have forest fires, we don't have normal forest fires like Mother Nature used to have. We have catastrophic forest fires. And what those catastrophic forest fires are they're basically sequestered CO2 for the last 100 or so year that suddenly gets released up in the atmosphere overnight. When they burn millions of acres of forest, that's burning millions of acres of CO2 into the atmosphere. Thanks, environmentalists.